What's happening, family? Welcome back to our channel today. We will get to hear from Canadian actress Jasmine Mooney, recently detained. ICE immigration agents for 12 days while attempting to renew her work visa under the Trump new immigration policy. Enjoy, like, subscribe, comment, share. If you like the content, one thing we are starting to see ish happens.
Christian, thanks. Jasmine Mooney, thanks so much for joining us. Jasmine, our audience might have heard a little bit about your story. You were somebody who's an entrepreneur, an actress, and you have been working in Canada and the United States, but you were recently detained for 12 days. Why were you kind of between these countries, and what made you want to go get another work visa for the United States?
So my visa journey started a year ago. I had this amazing opportunity to launch a brand called Holy Water out of California that is holistic medicine, metabolic health, and I went to originally applied for my TN visa a year ago.
And what's a TN visa for people who might not know?
A TN visa is a business consultant visa. And so I originally applied for that visa at the Canadian border, and I got denied over some minor paperwork issues, and the agent told me, you can come back tomorrow and reapply. And so my lawyer, he was based in San Diego, and he told me, you know what, Jasmine, just come down to San Diego. I'll come with you to the office to make sure that nothing is missing in your paperwork, and we'll just get this done. So that's what I did, and I went down there, and I got my visa within half an hour, and I was then working in California. And I still had my place in Canada, in Vancouver. So I was going back and forth, no issues there for just under a year. And the first issue I had started 4 months ago. So I was in Vancouver, traveling back to LA, and I got stopped. And the agent told me, he's like, why were you originally denied and then went to the San Diego border? That seems really shady. And I explained my situation, and he told me, well, you aren't allowed to process visas there. And long story short, they took my visa away.
Were you in America at the time, or were you in Canada at the time?
I was in Canada. I was traveling back to LA, and they stopped me, and then I wasn't allowed back to the country until I got that sorted. So I actually got offered another position with another health and wellness brand. And I talked to lawyers. I said, I want to reapply for my TN visa and work with this company. Is that an issue? And they said, no. And I said, well, I want to go to the same office that I went to. Should that be an issue? No. The worst that would happen is you get denied, like you've been denied before, and then we figure that out after that. So never in a million years did I think that what happened to me would have happened.
So you went to the United States, to the Customs and Border Protection Office, is that right?
So it wasn't America's, it's the Mexican border that goes into San Diego. So that's where my visa was processed before. I was familiar with it. I had no issues. And so I went back there.
So you had not been in the United States illegally up until you walked across the border to go to the Border Patrol office. Am I right there?
Yeah, so it was the immigration office. You walk in through Mexico into the immigration office where they process visas. That's where I was.
Okay, and then what happens?
So I get there. I have all my paperwork, and it was just such a roller coaster. First, they said I wasn't eligible for this visa, and then they called their supervisor, and I was. Then they approved my visa, and then I was sitting down, and while they were processing my visa, they said that there's issues with my passport because it was going to expire in 2 years. So it was just one thing after another. I was in that office for, I think, 6 hours. And finally, at the very end, I was sitting there. Well, after they had said, like, yes, you are eligible for this visa, I get called back up, and they go, okay, we're so sorry, but unfortunately, because you've had issues with your visa in the past, with the denial and it being voided, in order to get your visa, you need to apply through the consulate. And I said, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. I'll go do that. And they go, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not in trouble. You're not a criminal. And at the time, I thought that language was very odd. Like, why would they use that? And they go, but we have to send you back to Canada. And I said, okay. Like, I was planning on going back anyway. And then this man came out and he said, Jasmine, please follow me. And he took me to this room, and that's where it all happened. And with no warning, all my stuff was taken, my phone was taken, hands against the wall. I started getting pat down. They said, take off your shoes, and they started ripping my shoelaces out of my shoes, which at the time I had no idea what that meant, and then later on found out that's so you don't hang yourself in prison. Was taken, and I was placed into a cell with 5 other girls where we slept on the ground on this tiny mat and